Today we will be discussing the effect of the romance genre on society.
In order to discuss the effect, we must first look at the question proposed. What role do television shows and movies centered around romance have on the perception and well-being of women in the real world?
Through my research, I found out that the current depiction of women in the romance genre is false and damaging to their well-being, and that reformation is necessary in order to move towards equality. In order to get this equality, we must first properly portray the way women interact in the real world. Then we include more women directors and actresses, and finally we have to create realistic body images of women. When you think about women in film, you can often say that they are ditzy or they do something rude, and you can just blow it off as movement in the plot or as a funny joke. But in actuality, it has direct impact on society.
While the romance genre has its fair share of female leads, the typical examples of women in these films are they're feeble, weak-minded, and often one-dimensional. They rarely hold positions of power, and when they do, they are made out to be demanding and unfriendly. They cannot seem to find a balance between being a working woman and being in a healthy relationship. One characteristic that both of these sets have in common is that they are dependent on a male to give them a sense of direction and to guide them towards a life of fulfillment. These films make it appear as if they could not attain this on their own.
So why is this an issue? When films make women out to be dim-witted or villains, they can find it hard to speak up in a business meeting or be honest with their spouse, entirely because they are worried that they will fall into these typical stereotypes. This can be combated by finding members of society who push against the typical norms and create things such as the Bechdel test, which can be found in the left corner, to determine female representation. The test is super simple. All it does is determine if there's more than one woman in the film, and two, if they can speak about something other than a man. The amount of films that fail this is actually quite surprising. The second step is to find production companies that are willing to create films that do properly represent women. This can be seen in movies like Crazy Rich Asians, which has more to do with the female finding her footing and understanding what's going on in her life rather than trying to fall in love with a man. The final step is to get people who are willing to review these films and say thank you to the production companies who have made them so that way they can understand that they need more.
In order to see more realistic examples of women in film, the industry has to start pulling these experiences from more females. It is currently dominated by men and leaves little to no room for women to thrive.
Film is one of the most influential aspects of society. Geena Davis, founder of the Geena Davis Institute on Gender and Media and a well-respected actress, once said, "Women are seriously underrepresented across all sectors of society, not just on screen, but we're simply not aware of it." The media exerts a powerful influence in creating and perpetuating our unconscious biases. The media currently allows us to create an environment that impedes women from succeeding, but if transformed, it grants us the ability to create a positive role model for the world and inspire other workforces to do the same. There is an incredible amount of focus on the physical appearance of women in society, and this is only exemplified in film. This creates an environment where women are on the hunt for unachievable body types, and they start to be viewed as a commodity rather than an actual human being. So why are people still okay with it? Because they've been taught these traits since the beginning of time. It all starts with the children. Over half the animated characters they are watching have some sort of exaggerated physique, and 3/4 are dressed in revealing clothing. They focus on words like pretty and delicate to describe the female roles, and they make sure that children as young as 3 years old know that looks matter. It is important to note that production companies are moving towards characters that are more realistic, but the progression is slow, and there have been a few setbacks. A good example of a character that is more realistic would be Moana from Disney. So the film industry has the capability of starting a domino effect that transforms society into a place that gives everyone who participates an equal shot. This can be done through people pressuring films to properly portray women, and those films taking the advice of the people to create solid role models. The film industry can create an environment that gives everyone a shot so that other workforces can mimic it in its progression. Then the film industry can further their ability to provide good role models by creating characters that have aspects found among members of society and by showing that no two people are the same. The industry is slowly progressing towards an environment that is inclusive and uplifting, but it will take time and the diligence from all working parts.